Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Millennial Minute. I'm your host, Julia Sun. More women choose to work in the 21st century than ever. Today's question, will most American women be able to have a family and a successful career at the same time? You already heard from our guests. Both are friends of the show. Isabel Brown, she's a spokesperson from Turning Point USA, and joining her is Nicole Brener Schmitz, a Democratic strategist. Welcome you both, ladies.
Thank you.
Yeah. Look, I've heard from a lot of working women that when they become parents, their careers face some kind of setbacks, unlike those of their male partners. Will I stop hearing that at the end of the century, assuming I'm still alive then? I'll start with you, Nicole.
Well, I think it's going to depend on what we see come out of Congress. The reality is the United States is behind in providing adequate paid family leave for women, which is the first step of having a child that then makes you feel you take a step back in the workplace. I know I'm a single mother myself and obviously have a career, and it's a delicate balance to continue to maintain.
And Isabel, you are extremely successful yourself. What's your take on this? Do you think most other women could emulate your kind of success?
Thank you. That is such a compliment, and it's an honor to be influencing the world of political conversations, especially in the conservative realm, as a young woman professionally today. Nicole, to your point, I don't think solutions come out of the federal government or Congress from this. I think a lot of this centers around how we influence the family life at home in the United States when it comes to encouraging young women in America to pursue a career, a family, or both if they so choose. I had the unique experience of growing up in a home with a mother who was a primary breadwinner in our family, and my father who stayed home for a few years to take care of us as the Manny, as we called him, when I was a young child. And it was so inspiring to understand that nothing could hold my mother back other than her own determination. She achieved incredible success in her own company and inspired all three of her daughters to pursue whatever career they chose in their own chosen field with zero limitations but their heart, passion, and drive for whatever field we chose later on. Look, the bottom line is this. We already have gender equality under law in the United States of America. We've protected that over and over and over again with quote-unquote solutions from Congress. But the reality is, if we can inspire enough young women to choose their own destiny, not rely on the government to tell them they can do so, the solution is right here in front of us.
Well, Nicole, you made an interesting point in your opening statement, which is men don't typically get a question like this because they don't have to deal with it. In how many years, how many decades or centuries do you think women will stop hearing that question?
I'm not sure how long it will take, as we're the ones who tend to bear the children, but it's unfortunate that we don't ask men this. I think it's great to hear that Isabel's dad was someone who stayed home for a few years while her mother pursued a career, but that isn't a norm in this country. And I think a big part of achieving this is not simply telling women what they can do and providing the access and the ability and encouraging young girls to live up to their dreams, but also making sure that men realize some of the emotional burden and the emotional work and labor that comes at the house is theirs too. So it's something for both genders to have a change in what is the expectations for them.
And Isabel, to dive off your employment number point, I want to highlight that at the height of the coronavirus pandemic, which was a period we all don't want to go back to, there was a month in particular that U.S. unemployed numbers, it was okay, but all the net job losses were bared by women. So do you think this is a sign that things aren't moving as quickly as we both would like to?
It may be a sign that things aren't moving quickly, but not necessarily catered to one gender. Obviously, we saw the world turn completely upside down in the last 365 days or so, as we've just rounded out the year-long anniversary of shutting down our society for the COVID-19 pandemic. But this is affecting all demographics in the United States. Youth unemployment is up significantly. African American employment is up significantly. Asian American employment, we could go demographic by demographic here in the United States and see a net loss of jobs everywhere. Unfortunately, that imbalance did exist in a particular month, but as Nicole said, we are already starting to come back from this particular pandemic, largely, I believe, because of the confidence in our economy that we saw during the last 4 years before we started this new presidential administration. There was never more confidence in women's employment in the United States than we saw for the first time in my lifetime within the last 4 years under President Donald Trump. You saw record low unemployment for the first time in 70 years for young women, more women in Congress from both parties than ever before in human history, and more women serving in senior positions in the executive branch and in the White House in particular than we've ever observed in American history. This is an inspiring and exciting time to be a young woman in this country, and involving more people in the process of that conversation, how we can continue to inspire the next generation, is absolutely where we will go forward, regardless of the COVID-19 pandemic, and especially, I believe, where we are today as we start to emerge out of these lockdowns and discuss what our world is going to look like moving forward.
Nicole, what do you say to that unemployment number in particular?
Well, I'm very excited to see that the Biden administration added so many jobs in February. I think it's important to look at the glass ceilings that women are breaking and what Isabel acknowledged, but I believe it's also crucial to remember that being for supporting women, and in my view, feminism is not just about breaking the glass ceilings and women achieving things that they haven't, but supporting women to be able to live these sustainable lives, which means the bulk of women who make the minimum wage in this country, the bulk of people who make minimum wage are women. So we need to do things like raise the minimum wage to help lift these women and children out of poverty so that it's a sustainable wage, and that we can help women be active participants in the workforce as well as have their families. Because the reason we saw all of the jobs at one point that were lost during the virus were women was because women were the ones who took a step back to help the kids at home.
And final question for both of you. I see that you don't agree on where we are today, but you guys have absolutely no difference in where we want to go. So let's say 50, 100 years down the road, what are some of the steps we could do today to help us all get there together?
Yeah, I think this really starts with an educational perspective and the educational piece there. Unfortunately, women are told far too often, even at young ages as children in this country, that they can either be a very successful businesswoman or they can stay at home and take care of their children. And those are not mutually exclusive ideas. I think we may disagree on how to get there at the end of the day and how we educate young people in this country, but all women want to be successful in the United States of America and continue to inspire the next generation of young women and young men in this country. So these conversations are crucial to understand where we can come together and create the future that we all are dreaming of.
Nicole?
Well, I think what I hope is that the politicians can hear what you just said. We have the same goal. We have some different ideas of how to get there, but these are conversations that senators and congressmen and their staffs need to be having across the aisle, because it isn't one side good, one side bad, one side evil, one side moral. And the fact that we keep treating it that way is hugely problematic. We want the same thing. We just have a few different ideas of how to get there, but surely we can have conversations and find some common ground and ultimately achieve a situation where women are going to be able to have both a career and a successful family.
Well, I can tell you both that politicians do watch our shows. So it's great that you're talking about this here. Thank you both for being here. It's so nice to talk to you both.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you for watching Millennial Minute. I'm Julia Sun. I'll see you back here next time.